Welcome to Real Talk with Pastor Ward. And today we have Pastor Xavier Johnson with us, and we also have Xavier Martell. And today what we're going to be dealing with is issues that plague the church community and what it takes really for us to reach out to the community and do our job. Now, let me introduce you to Pastor Johnson. Pastor Johnson, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been in ministry now for about 16 years, and I love ministry. I think what I enjoy most about ministry is sort of being real, just sort of doing the same type of ministry that Christ did. So very straightforward, very in your face, very the type of ministry that's not popular. So that's what I enjoy. That's what I like to deal with from a day to day. Single parent, you know, sort of the same old spiel, but glad to be here with you today, Pastor.
Well, and I like that you said that. Myself, I'm the same way. I believe in taking it to the streets, and I think a lot of times within the church, what we begin to do is become so spiritual and so ritualistic that we've taken away the relationship aspect of it. And one of the problems that I've even seen, even in some churches, they're so caught up in tradition, they can't even reach young people.
Absolutely.
You know, I believe you and I had an experience with that not too long ago.
Absolutely.
We were leaving a church service, and there were some young people outside in the parking lot, and no one wanted to speak with them. And we went over there, and we began to talk with them. It wasn't even, and it doesn't always have to be about Jesus.
Right.
Sometimes it's just that they want to hear a word. They just want to hear that someone cares and that they have a voice.
Absolutely.
And I think so often in the church, one of the things we've done is we began to shut them down. If they're not saying holy, 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 and Jesus, 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 Hosanna, 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 then we don't want to hear a word they have to say.
Absolutely.
And one thing that touched me when we spoke with those young men, and I made a joke with you afterwards that, you know, they had been smoking on some things, and they were having a good time, and we remember those days when we was out there in the world, and but one of them even told me, it was like, Pastor, anything you need, is you want me to teach somebody how to sing and teach a music class and teach an art class, we'll come in. And I think you talked to one of them, and he said he had even been to the church before. You know, and it shows us that people are out there, and they're out there and they're hurting, and they've been hurt by the church.
Absolutely.
And I feel that it's our job. It's our obligation not to cast them out, but to go back out and find out why. And that's one of the reasons why I have a young gentleman with us today, Xavier Martell. And I met him through a tragic situation of a mutual friend of ours. And one thing I can say about this gentleman is that he's been upfront and honest and open, and he came to me and he told me a lot of things and shared some things with me, and I admired him for letting me know. He says, Pastor, you know, really, I know Jesus, I know who God is, but all that other stuff, they can take that somewhere else. So, Xavier, could you share with us your feelings and your outlook?
I mean, for the most part, you know, what I sit at the table, I don't really have a whole lot of belief in just that every Sunday going to church. I'm just not with it. Primarily, for one, you know, I come from a religious background. My grandfather was a preacher in Pompano Beach, Florida. We went to church every day, and my grandfather probably had 6 members. Like, he took a house and went in the house and knocked all the walls out and made that the church, you know. For the most part, you know, church was, from my understanding, it was the second home. You know, if you had some problems, like, the church was there to back you up. It was a pillar of the community. My grandparents fed the community, fed the homeless. You know, they went and got money to feed the homeless, the whole shebang. You know, now you're seeing a whole lot of rigmarole when it comes down to, you know, your pastor got a Rolls Royce, and if I'm hungry, you see what I'm saying? What are you telling me? What are you showing me other than you got a Rolls Royce and your bed is made? You going home, you sleeping well at night. You know what I mean? But you got people out here losing their houses, and they putting all of their money, all the extra money, in the collection plate. I generally have an issue with that, because if I need some help, I'm just speaking, like, I hear a lot of talk about we taking up offering. Generally, it's been a long time, and I've been to a number of churches in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Just trying to, initially I tried to, you know, keep in contact with the church and do the church thing, because that's what it was said to do. But we taking up offering, and I ain't seeing where it's helping nobody. I ain't, you got people out here on the corner robbing, but, churches these days, they not really offering an outlet. They're not, you know what I mean? Like, so you can't go to your pastor. These days you got pastors, you can't even touch them.
You're right.
They walking around with security. You know what I mean? So are you a pastor or are you a rapper? I'm just trying to understand. You know what I mean? If you're a pastor and you have the same persona as the big time drug dealer, you know what I mean? Why am I going to feel comfortable about having a conversation with you on any day? You see what I'm saying? And it's a difference because now, I've even heard some older people just speak in reference to church music. Back in the day you had Mahalia Jackson or whatever. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And now you have a lot of artists like really just picking up the paces, and it's not so much as secular music, but it's music that you can feel. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? I don't know nothing about, I don't know nothing about back in the day. I don't know nothing about slavery. I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I need to hear some music that relates to my situation. I can't pay my bills. I need to know what God gonna tell me to do. You see what I'm saying? I need to hear that.
You know what? Can I stop you for 1 second? And I hear everything you're saying, but in everything I heard you say that there is a God. And I heard you say that in your spirit there is hope and there is love, but also you've seen where man has let you down. And first of all, I want to apologize, okay? And and what I mean by apologize on the fact that we have not done our job to let everyone know that we are not superhuman. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we walk around, and a lot of us drive the Bentleys, drive the Mercedes. Yeah. They have the nice jewelry and the rings, and real talk, like we said, the name of the show, real talk. They walk around, and you can't tell the difference between them and T.I. You can't,
exactly.
And when you look at people like Bishop Don Magic Juan on TV, and it just personifies the whole thing of what you're saying of, you know what, you all really are. Y'all got a whole bunch of women around you.
It creates a circus atmosphere.
Exactly. It becomes a joke.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that you did say, and that was, you want something that's going to reach your soul. You want something that's going to reach your spirit. Okay,
sometimes just like what you said earlier, it's about, sometimes it's just about a word. So, it don't matter whether it's a homeless man, a crack addict. Somebody always, God worked through everybody in mysterious ways.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've had some people that were just lost to keep me from going to prison.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I could deal with it and I can relate to it. You know what I mean? Because it was real. My thing is, if you're going to get up in the pulpit, just be honest. Let's talk about some real facts. I understand that y'all read from the text in the Bible and things. My ex-wife was a religion fanatic. Her whole thing was, in the morning, we got up with the gospel station playing on the radio, and went in there before we watched the news. We was watching Joel Osteen, and she would leave the TV on the church channel, TBN, all day to make sure the spirit was in the house.
Yeah, yes.
You see what I'm saying? I recently talked to her because I had a tragic situation that happened in my life, and I asked her to pray for me. And you know what she told me?
What was that?
I won't pray no more. I won't pray no more. She told me she read 3 different Bibles, and there's some parts in the Bible that are just missing. So my thing is, when I go to church, I'm looking for...
So she left the church, is what you're telling me?
I left the church, won't go.
And
I'm finding this in a lot of people from ages 40 on down.
And you're right.
And it's becoming redundant. And why is this?
But here's the thing, and that is why we're here. This is the purpose of this show. And one of the things I want you to understand is, I hear what you're saying. And even myself, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I grew up Roman Catholic and Baptist.
Okay.
My grandfather was a Baptist preacher. A lot of people in this city know him, and knew of him. And they'll tell you he was a fire and brimstone, and he was one of those. And I hated going to his church. I like going to the Catholic church because I was in and out in 45 minutes, and I could go to Six Flags and have fun. But I grew up in a household that I had to go to church wherever it may be.
Yeah.
before you do anything. And I grew up Roman Catholic, and I was an altar boy. And I grew up in a Baptist church, and I used to see people shouting when there was a nurse. And I'm going to be real talk. I was like, why this same person falling out every weekend? And why somebody got to fall out? I mean, is it really that deep? Is it really that serious?
Exactly.
And I didn't see it. I heard what he preached, and I saw how he lived. And I saw what he lived was true. But everything around it, I kept hearing about going to hell and how certain ways you live. And I finally said, you know what, I mean, I wasn't saved. I was just safe. But then when I became a teenager, I had a real big fight with my mother, and she wanted me to go to her church. And she went to this mega church out in Decatur, and I was like, I'm Catholic, I'm not going to that church, and I don't want, what's the deal with this mega ministry? It doesn't take all that, and I just didn't want to hear it. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to hear a white man preaching to me at the time, because I felt he didn't know my plight. And then I saw all the black people following this white man. In my mind, I'm like, hold on, are you following Master? Where is he taking you? And that was my concept. But in that, I went and I found Christ. And then I began to watch Christ, and Christ began to move in my life. And it was so funny, when I began to do what Christ wanted me to do, everything went great for a while, but then it went terrible. It just took a downward spiral. But I still kept serving him. And in the interim of things got better. But then I was watching man, and man let me down. I had a youth pastor that just turned around and left. I mean, we had one of the largest youth ministries in the city, and he left.
And I've got another question. I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Is it me, or have you all noticed that the people that are singing the music are predominantly gay?
So you want to go into that?
I'm just saying. At the end of the day, and this has been the last 6 churches, even at my current wife's church. Mm-hmm. The man hitting all the high notes.
Okay, I'm going to address that. I can address that for you. I don't know people's lifestyles, but I will say this. I will honestly say this. I know that sometimes I've seen some ministers of music, and they look like they may be playing for another team. And if I could say that politically correctly, but me personally, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with. I want to say this, and then preferably another show I can go ahead and go deeper into detail. But me personally, and I will say this boldly, that God doesn't make a mistake. So when people want to say God made them that way, that's one thing. And I heard one preacher tell me, he says, you can be gay and you can get in the usher board, you can get in the choir, you can get in the band, you can get in the drama department, but you can't get into heaven. As you say, at the end of the day.
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 Because see, real talk, if God was okay with it, he owed Sodom and Gomorrah a real big apology.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
I mean, we having a real talk here, right?
That's right.
And but to answer your question though, in what we see how people are portrayed, I don't want us to judge just because back in the day we used to say he had a little sugar in his tank, or he was a little sweet. We don't want to judge people because of their persona, of how it may look, because they may have struggled with it. They may have been in that lifestyle. Just like myself, I was promiscuous, and I quite real talk, I was a hoe. I did it. I was wrong, and I didn't know these women I dealt with. Okay, I mean, I dealt with drugs. Not that I took them, but I sold them, and I was wrong. But is that right for someone to look at me and say, well, Doc, you can't preach because of what you used to do?
Well, there's one thing about what you used to do. You see what I'm saying? When you come into God, that's what it's all about. It's changing. I understand it don't change you and just change overnight.
Right.
I'm understanding that because, I'm still straddling the fence a little bit myself. But at the end of the day, either you can't, once you get up in this pulpit and it get to a point to where you're leading people, where you're leading the youth. Mm-hmm. So I don't want my son, I don't want nobody singing to him and showing him that it's cool to be this way. Mm-hmm. I had this situation about a year ago where a kid that's in, that I mentor, decided he was going to be that way, and I asked him, well, what made you think about this? And he said, well, we was going to church, and everybody around there, just made it seem like it was the coolest thing to do. Everybody's doing it. So I just decided I wanted to try it out.
That's a spirit, Doc.
So what I'm saying is, spirit, whatever it may have you, I got my own mind. I have a relationship with God, but as far as the church thing, I don't need to go to nobody's church for them to tell me exactly how to live my life, because God gave us something called free will. It's the know-how. It's the rights and the wrong. And at the end of the day, somebody got to be accountable for themselves.
Okay, I'm going to address that statement. But I'm going to let Pastor Johnson take it first.
So my question is this. Why do we send our kids to school? Everything that the school teaches, we can teach at home. So why would we even bother sending our kids to a public school system if we can homeschool them? That's one. The other side is this. Would you go to a church of a pastor that you knew smoked cigarettes, had a drink every now and then? Would you go to a church of a pastor cussed?
Well, this is my thing.
In his private life?
This is my thing. Would I go? Yeah, because I could deal with that, because I think from my standpoint and how I live, how I do things, I can live with a person that's honest with himself. That's all I'm looking for.
So what if you got a pastor that's gay, but he's honest with himself, he's honest with the congregation?
Well, that's one thing. That's one thing. If he gay and he honest with himself, and he honest with the congregation.
Right.
That's one thing. But at the end of the day, when you're a pillar of the community, you have to set certain standards, and you have to live by those, because you got people, whether it's me, you, him, or him, looking up to you.
But look at our government. I mean, we can talk about pastors all day long, but our kids are looking up to elected officials doing the exact same thing. So my question is, should church and the streets be what our children, be the pillar of our children's lives? Should the streets and the church be what our children are looking up to be, or to aspire to be, or should that come from our home?
It should come from our home, but I honestly believe that the church helps to keep us motivated.
Okay, and I agree with that. But when you look at the,
I believe it should. So when I'm going to church, and I'm broke, and the minister get in the pulpit and make me feel guilty because I ain't got no money to give.
Right.
Now, hold on. Stop. We got to take that.
I agree with that. I see where you're at.
Why would you feel guilty if you don't have to give?
I mean, it's just. I'm just saying it, and I've seen this happen.
And I've seen it too.
Now I don't feel guilty.
Right.
I
feel super less.
Right, because if you ain't got it, you got it.
Matter of fact, I've been in one church and I saw a young lady give. She had just got her check, and it was a welfare check. And the pastor was saying, you got to sow a seed, and it's seed and harvest time. And she gave her check, her whole check. It was a child support check. Gave a whole child support check to the pastor, to the church. Okay, turned right around on that Monday and asked me for money to feed her children. That's what you're talking about, right?
Exactly.
Now, but here's the thing: people do things according to their faith level. Okay, now she kept going in the hole, this young lady, and kept having financial problems. But that was because of her faith level. See, here's the thing about when it comes to giving.
Faith level or food level?
Faith level. See, I hear what you're saying.
But I'm asking this because I saw my aunt. My aunt was in a situation where she was going to lose her house. My aunt was the party goer of the family.
Now, the Word of God says, render unto Caesar which is Caesar's.
She went to church one day and came back, and she wanted to spread the word now. Every word was, my pastor said, my pastor said.
You got to be careful with that now.
She gave tithes. She was about to lose her house. She told the pastor, look, I need the church to help me. Need y'all to jump in the collection plate because I'm finna lose my house. I've been here 30 years. I'm sick. Yada, yada, yada. The pastor told her, we can't do nothing like that. You done gave this man your everything, so I'm saying, is it your faith level
or your food level.
Okay, but here's the thing. And I will say this, and this may be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you're being faithful, maybe sometimes God's ready for you to move out of the situation that you're in. Maybe he wants you out of that house. Maybe he has something else better for you. I'm a living testimony. I lost one of my houses to foreclosure. And I was preaching at the time. Okay, I was pastoring at the time that happened.
Okay.
But that's one side.
You know.
But what about the pastor that'll sit around and do that, taking the money, and won't do anything to help the folks that giving them the money?
You're right, and that's one of the reasons we have a problem today in the church.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not. What I'm trying to do is just show you both sides. Now, on the other side of that coin, I have to admit there are some pastors that have fallen short. But remember, they're men. But the only thing we got to do is begin to awaken them. And see, they're hearing your voice. One of the reasons I invited you is because I want them to hear that hurt. Hear what they're doing to some of the sheep that are out here. Now, the thing about tithe and offering, you should. You should. It is biblical. Okay? And the thing about going to church, what you said, here's the thing. You said you go to the church because, yes, that is a center for you. One of the things you said is that you can read it yourself, but the Word of God says, lean not to thine own understanding. So, and he said, how can my people hear unless I give them a shepherd? And how can he go unless he's sent? So you really, I'm not trying to be funny, but in all honesty, God sends men and women that intercede that are nothing but speaker boxes for him. I mean, real talk. You've been in situations where you've heard something in your mind tell you to knock the living daylights out of somebody, right?
Yeah.
And you never heard anything else say don't. Everything in your mind said go.
That's right.
Okay. That's where we come in. Because, see, there's been times in our mind where you won't be able to hear in the spiritual. So God sends that person in the flesh to tap you on the shoulder and say, Zay, now you know, I understand how your emotions are. But in reality, that wouldn't be the wise thing to do. And you know it's not the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Okay? So, but we come to church so that we can get that feeling, so we can be fulfilled. So therefore, see, we get this misunderstanding about being saved ain't about going to church. Okay? Y'all know you heard the church is a hospital. Being saved and being saved is a first step. Salvation is just the beginning. Okay, people say, I gave my life to Christ and I'm saved. And they think that's the end all be all. That's not it. That's just the beginning. What happens after that is we're supposed to go out and we're supposed to bring people in. And we're supposed to do what Christ did and spread love. You got so many people that want to get back and beat you upside the head with the Bible, but they never want to embrace you and give you a hug. They want to tell you the way you living is wrong and fornication is wrong, but they don't want to give you an alternative. They don't want to say, well, listen, in the midst of you having sex. Matter of fact, when you leave the club at 3 o'clock on Sunday morning, come to my house, and we're going to go to church together. But they want to tell you about being at the club instead of helping you out.
I mean, the church has become the new club. It's become the new club, the fashion show. The church is bigger than the mall. It's bigger than Greenbrier Mall on Saturday. The church is bigger than Lenox Mall.
Now, could that be that God is trying to get people in? Could it be that there's a desire there?
No, it's a situation of, show me the money. Churches become show me the money in the red carpet.
So what about the churches that are doing things in the community? The churches that are feeding people?
Y'all gonna have to show them to me.
You look, okay, I'm giving you, here's, I'm a pastor.
Okay.
And you've seen how I operate.
Okay.
To the point that I call people.
It's very
and check
few.
on
It's
them.
very few of you.
But but you know what?
It's very few of you, and this is what I'm saying. In all honesty, I hope you do well, but because you're the way that you are and what he said, the kind of pastor that he is, just dealing with real life situations, you two together may not ever get a church worth $5 million. You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you're gonna take some. You'll get about 4 or 5 child molesters. They're gonna have the biggest church. They're gonna have the biggest congregation, and they ain't doing nothing to help their people. It look good for propaganda. Yeah, I'm gonna have the rock star wedding at my church and I'm gonna bury so and so. That's all good. That's just propaganda. You see what I'm saying? But when it comes to, I'm talking about, you got people going to your church homeless. You see what I'm saying? The church it's so many different ways to create a new avenue to make money.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Talking to two pastors,
Yeah.
what do we need to do to be able to reach people like you?
You need to talk to them and embrace them. And I'm talking about just having a general conversation, not just so much as badgering, because a lot of times you get people that run up on you and just shove the Bible down your throat. The average person, you catch me on a day-to-day basis and I'm coming out the gas station like, I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? I don't mean to be disrespectful to the little old lady at racetrack early in the morning. But get out my face, I ain't trying to hear that. Yesterday, me and my wife had an argument. You don't know what's on my mind. You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's just a situation, you know, it could be something as simple as, you know, I want you to come over and mentor some kids. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know. You know, I've been in the streets the majority of my life. You know, I mentor children at the park. You know what I mean? Every day. Help them do homework, whatever. The best thing that I've ever done in my life. I mean, when you start talking about just being fulfilling, and I just talked to them, just really cause, you know, I heard somebody say a couple of weeks ago, you know, children just want to be loved. You have a lot of adults that just want to be embraced, and they don't want to feel like the outcast cause I'm a stripper, I'm a dope dealer. How else would you reach these people if you gonna badger them? If you gonna make them feel horrible about everything they done? You just gonna whiplash them every time. So it's just like going to court. It's just like going to court and you get convicted of a felony and you do your time. So okay, you done did your time. God done beat you. God let the devil put the whooping on you. You see what I'm saying? So now it's time to redeem yourself. And a lot of times we're just not giving people the opportunity to redeem themselves.
Okay, let me say that. Listen, this has been Real Talk with Pastor Ward. And in our closing, I want you to understand, for all our believers out there, we need to begin to love one another, because the greatest commandment that God gave us was to love. Love Him. And the like one was likened to it was the second one, was to love our neighbor as ourselves. We've heard this young man sit here and tell us the bottom line is to love, to embrace, to reach out. You know, and in closing, I want to say a short prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, touch each and every one of our children out there. Touch them that need you. Touch them that are designed for you. Those that need your warm embrace. Those that need that one word, Father. Send your angel, send your servant. And if it be one of us, let us be willing and obedient to hear your call and do your bid. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
This is Pastor John Ward with Real Talk, and I've had my guest host here, Pastor Xavier Johnson and Mr. Xavier Martell. Thank you very much, and be blessed.